Well, hello again, my friends, and welcome once more to the Invisible College. And I've got an interesting one for you today. But before I go into that, I just want to say a few words about how we're approaching things, what this Invisible College is really all about. And if you've been watching my earlier lectures, you'll probably come across the ones that I talked about my own journey. When I went to Israel, I was going to go to India, but I was persuaded while in Israel that I should look into my own culture first, my own religious traditions, before attempting to try to understand someone else's, in that case, India. And I did this, and I have uncovered some really extraordinary things that I didn't know existed before. And I was fairly well educated. I went to one of the top Catholic schools in this country. So where religious education is concerned, I call myself pretty well educated, at least within the orthodox common frame. But the trouble is that the common orthodox frame is very deficient in actually explaining the real Christian tradition of the West. They've turned it into a sequence of rituals and to wearing particular costumes and in general turning Christianity into social work, which is not what it's about. Yes, social work is good. You're helping the poor, helping the needy. Yeah, that's good things to do. But that's not really what it's all about. It's about self-transformation. And it's about the wedding garment. And I'm going to talk to you today about what that's all about. And we'll begin with in the Matthew Gospel. And again, I'll say to you, I'm a very New Age sort of person. I've studied a lot of New Age stuff in the past. But I'm also a Christian, and I'm a Christian New Age person. And my interest is in trying to find the truth within our own culture, our own religious traditions, instead of trying to grab the low-hanging fruit off other people's cultures, to do the difficult stuff with our own and try to uncover what it's really all about. And when you do that, it's extraordinary. It is absolutely, totally extraordinary. Far better than anything you're going to find in India. It's the truth, and it's the real truth, and it's prophetic, and it's connected with a whole book of the Bible, which is full of prophecies. Many of them have already come true. Many are coming true in our own time. We're living in the apocalypse, and I've done, I think it's 23 programs on the apocalypse so far. I need to do 2 or 3 more to finish off the book. And when you go through that, you realize that the intelligence that created all of this is absolutely extraordinary. And we have to bow our heads in shame that we've been so rude and so ignorant in our culture for various reasons, but very often politics, greed, arrogance, all these things have come into play, and it's 2,000 years since Jesus was here. So it's not so surprising that things have been corrupted, but we can get back to the truth when we go into it in depth and dig hard, dig deliberately, and don't allow other people to put us off. Yeah, we have the books. We can look at them, we can read them, we can think about them, we can compare them with other things, and we can unravel what these mysteries are all about. So, without more ado, just let me get my Kindle up and running. I'm going to take you to the meaning of the wedding garment, and I'll tell you what the wedding garment is when we get to the end of this. But before we do that, I'm going to read you a parable. Don't worry, it's not boring. It's very telling. It's in the Matthew Gospel. St. Matthew was one of the 12 apostles, and it's chapter 22 if you want to read it for yourself. So it starts off. And again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son, and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast. But they would not come. Again he sent other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention, and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry, and he sent his troops, and destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads, and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads, and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, bind him hand and foot, and cast him into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. Now I just want to point out a couple of things in this before we go on. So this is a parable, and Jesus did a lot of his teaching in parables, and he sent his servants out to call those who were invited to the wedding feast. So that represents the prophets going out in the Old Testament times, calling the Israelites to the wedding feast, prepare themselves, but they weren't interested, and sent more, and they still weren't interested, each concerned with his business, his farm or whatever. And they beat up the servants, the prophets, and killed them. So then he goes and sends his army and destroys them. That's the sending of the Assyrians, actually, to take them into captivity, and the Babylonians to burn down Jerusalem. That's what that's all about. It's saying that they didn't take any notice, and eventually he sends Jesus himself down there, and he gets crucified in the rebuilt Jerusalem. So they turn their backs. So he sends his servants out, get anyone, I've got the wedding feast ready, waiting. Call them, go into the roads, whoever's there, bring them in, I must fill my wedding hall. And they bring in these people. That's like St. Paul and the others going out to the Gentiles to convert them to Christianity. What it's really all about. And then the king turns up, and he finds this man not wearing a wedding garment. Now think about that. You've been to a wedding, I've been to weddings, and the normal thing you do when you go to a wedding is you get some special clothes to put on. You very well might put on, go to Moss Bros and hire a morning suit, with a tailcoat and a top hat and the whole works. You might well do that because you're going to a wedding. It's something special. At the very least, you put on your best suit, your best clothes, and you wear a shirt and tie if you're a man, and if you're a woman, you've probably gone out and bought a new dress and a new hat, whatever. But you dress up for it. You don't go there in your working clothes. You don't turn up in your dirty jeans and a t-shirt and expect to go into the wedding feast. You wear the appropriate clothing. So when the king comes along and he finds this man who's not wearing the proper clothing, he says, how did he get in? He hasn't got the wedding garment on. Chuck him out. You go out into darkness. He can go out gnashing his teeth. Now, this is very, very important. And listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you now. The wedding garment is the body of light. It's called the body of light in Christianity, It's also called the astral body. Now, astral doesn't mean made for the stars or starry stuff. The word for star in the ancient languages, astra, actually meant a light. They looked at the stars in the sky and they saw them as being so many lights. As you would do, wouldn't you? They didn't think about them being dust clouds or being atomic bombs going off or whatever. They saw them as lights. So you need to have a body of light. And that is what's called your astral body. And what is an astral body? Well, it's a body made from light. And we, in our incarnated selves on the earth, as we are, we have the makings of one. It's like we have the potential to grow one. It's like you plant a bulb. Let's say you plant a bulb, and it can turn into a flowering plant. Now, a while back, I had some irises. When we bought this house, it's 25 years ago, I went out in the garden and there was an area under some trees, and there were some irises growing there. Now, it was pretty dark and shady in that area. It was very poor soil, and these irises were struggling, and they could produce leaves, but they never flowered. And in a few years, I created some new flower beds. There wasn't much here when we first moved here. It's a nice garden now. And I dug up these irises, or some of them, and I planted them in this different bed. And you know what? They took off, and they started growing bigger, and they started flowering. They produced more irises, and now that bed is filled with irises at a certain time of year. Gorgeous, beautiful flowers, very nice quality. The problem was that where they were, in the dark and in the shade and competing with trees, and not having enough water because the trees are taking it away, and not enough light, not enough nutrients in the soil, the best that they can do was to produce some leaves. And that's sort of our situation here on Earth. I wonder if it's the same on other planets. I've no idea. But on this planet, we're living on a fallen planet, and it's very difficult to make a flower equivalent here. And for us to flower is to grow the body of light while you're still alive. And then you have the wedding garment, and you can progress from this level of existence to a higher level, go to heaven. And that's why saints are shown very often. They have the halo, and sometimes they're shown with the nimbus or aureole, the aura around them, golden light. And that is their astral body you're being shown, their body of light. So what this college is all about, actually, what this invisible college is all about, is I want to help you to develop your astral body, to develop your body of light. That's what it's really all about. Because without it, with these earth changes coming, with this apocalypse we're living through, we're going to find ourselves without these physical bodies. And if you haven't got a body of light, you're going to be in a real trouble. Because normally speaking, people die all the time without an astral body. And what they do is their soul very quickly comes back into another physical body, which will support it, will support them in another life. And they go from life to life to life to life to life without being able to graduate, because they haven't got an astral body. They haven't got the body of light. But we might not be able to do that for much longer. I don't know, I'm not a genius. But if these apocalypse goes on and this earth itself changes, and we certainly won't have a situation where the earth can support 7 billion souls at once. Yeah, it'll have some people on here, but all the rest are going to be in some kind of limbo land at best. That's what I think. Or else maybe there's some other planet they can go to, but they're not going to be able to graduate and go to heaven. And you maybe think, well, there's no such thing as heaven. You're talking nonsense, Adrian. Well, that's because you've been schooled in a certain view of this world from the perspective of natural philosophy, where nothing exists outside of nature. And by nature, I mean the natural laws of this planet. But people in the past always understood there was supernature, the supernatural, which doesn't obey those laws necessarily. It has laws of its own. And part of those laws are to do with the body of light, which is pure energy. So we need to get ourselves into a situation where we can raise our vibrational level to create a body of light that can withstand the higher energies that we will experience if we go to heaven. That's the problem there. It's a different vibrational level from down here. We live in a very slow vibration, in the natural world, the physical world. You're up there, you're living in an electric universe, in energies that far surpass what we normally meet with on Earth. And you need a different kind of body to be able to deal with that. That's what it's all about. It's nothing to do with people wearing funny hats and holding croziers and looking good on Sunday. It's nothing to do with that. At best, those people are guides, but they're not, because they don't know anything. We have got to take the matter in our own hands. We have to take it our own initiative and say, well, thank you very much for all your sermons on Sundays, but they haven't really helped me. That's like going into a bus with no wheels. It's not going to take you anywhere. You've got to find a bus that has got wheels, and this Invisible College has. So that's what it's all about. And I would like you to start thinking, if you've been coming to this channel for a while, looking at some of the videos I put up there, I would like you to consider joining the college, actually joining it. It'll cost you £5 a month. Yes, I know, I have to pay for something. Yes, we all have to pay for things all the time in this world. And that is partly because that is necessary for your own development. And I'll tell you why now. A very wise man living in the last century was G.I. Gurdjieff. He knew a lot. People didn't understand him. They put their own interpretations on what he taught, and they messed it all up. But he said some very interesting and pertinent things. And he talked about how if you want to develop yourself, self-transformation, you have to follow 3 paths at once. First of all, there is personal transformation, personal development. You work on yourself. You might do that through things like yoga practices. And there are good practices like that. Getting fit, training your mind, training your emotions, all self-directed. But if you only do that, A, you're going to become very egotistical, and B, you won't be able to progress beyond a certain point. The reasons for that are complex, but they're to do with way we need certain shocks at different times in order to make things go to completion. And that's a whole other subject, and I'm not going to go into it now. But you also need to be following a second line of work, and that is working with other people. Try to help them, try to interact with them. And that is not just a matter of making tea in hospital for patients. It's not just working in Oxfam shop. That's good stuff, good things. You're helping people, that's very good. But it must reflect the interaction of you with the world, with other people. I'll give you a good example of one of the things that people are blind to, that you need to wake up to see in yourself. And I'll give you 2 different kinds of people. You've met many of these, I'm sure, in your life. The first of these people is the person who won't stop talking. You say, oh no, so-and-so's coming. you know that they're going to pin you down, they're going to talk at you. They're not going to have a conversation with you. They're not going to let you get a word in edgeways. It will just go, bah, 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 and it'll be this verbal diarrhea of everything that's in their mind that they want to spew out to you, and they'll keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, until eventually you make your excuses and you escape. Now, the reason they do that is self-defense. They create a wall of talk. So with the illusion of having conversation with you, which they're not, they are stopping you from saying anything to them, raising any of your ideas. They don't want to hear your ideas. They don't want to hear anything you have to say about your family, about the situation that you're in. They only want to talk about themselves, and they'll keep on throwing out everything they've got to keep that wall up, to keep you out of their life. Now, you might be one of those people without realizing it. If you are, stop yourself. You've got to say to yourself, hang on, I'm hogging the conversation here. I've got to let other people speak. Otherwise, it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. And you can't interact with other people just through a monologue. The other kind of person in that situation is a person who says nothing. You met them as well. You try to have a conversation, and all you get is, oh yeah. Typically teenagers do this, don't they? They don't want to tell you anything about themselves. They want to keep you out of their life, the parents especially. They'll be very chatty with their friends, but and people do this, even adults do this. And it's again another wall of protection, not to reveal anything about themselves. So that again, you've got to learn to communicate with other people, to find ways of exchanging ideas and exchanging experiences. Otherwise, you'll never be able to find true happiness in this world. You certainly won't be able to find love. And that is, just one example of work on the second level, working with other people. Well, there's many others, but that's one example of it. And the third level is work for the purpose of the work. Now, when Jesus came here, and when other prophets came here before him, when the Hermetic people in Egypt came here, they came here to bring about the kingdom of heaven on earth. Jesus talks about it all the time in the Gospels. The kingdom of heaven on earth was like this, kingdom of heaven on earth. The idea is that the rulership of heaven, God's will, if you like, has been subverted on earth. This is a fallen planet, as I say, and it's to be redeemed. And the way it's going to be redeemed is the institution of the kingdom of heaven on earth. So anything you can do to help that along is work for the sake of the work. You understand what I'm saying? And one thing you can do is to help this college. Yeah, if you look at my lectures, you haven't found this information anywhere else. That's because I'm given inspiration, because I've worked hard for 50 years. Yeah, stuff has been given to me. It's not that I'm so smart and clever and intelligent, it's not. I've worked hard to find this, and things have been shown to me and given to me in my life. And I'm sharing it with you because it's for the benefit of the work. It's for the benefit of the work that I set up this college, not for my own benefit. I could quite happily retire and, lived in a little cottage somewhere, and I could live out my remaining days. But for the benefit of the work, I'm doing this. I've set up this work. At great cost to myself, I might say. Not just physically, in terms of, the demands of it. So you can do something to help as well, and that is to actually come along and don't begrudge paying £5 a month to be a member. That there will be other, levels within the college that you have to pay more for. You know, this is all part of the way a school works. Yeah, you don't expect to be able to go to even the evening classes without having to pay something. And I've not asked a lot of you. Yeah, I'm not out for that. But you do need to be doing something to earn the right to have this knowledge. And I've given an awful lot away. I'm not going to be giving so much away from now on. When we finish the book of Revelation, it's going to be for people who actually have joined the college because they want a wedding garment. They want to develop themselves, their astral body, because they've taken that on board, that that's what it's all about. So, I'm sorry, this is a little bit different from most of my lectures. I'm going to be doing another one for the college shortly, but I think this time I said this. It's time I said to the people who casually come in here, grab the fruit that's available and say, thank you very much, Adrian, that was lovely. Thank you so much. That was really interesting information. Yes, time for you to do something. Time for you to put your hand in your pocket, join the college, and get connected. So, thank you very much, and we'll speak again. Take care.